So much. Coming up, we have Zach Carter. He has a fascinating story, a fascinating history with Sheriff Mack. So he's going to come on up and introduce Sheriff Richard Mack for us. Zach, take it away.
So bear with me, I'm not normally a public speaker, but in 1993, when I was in college, my wife and I spent our summer as environmental activists and found ourselves in Graham County, Arizona, protesting a telescope project there on Mount Graham. And we really saw the police as our enemy until Sheriff Mack changed that all in one afternoon. There were other agencies there that wanted to sick their dogs on us, if I remember right, and gas us. And he literally stood between us and them to protect us, even though we weren't his constituents. But that's just the kind of person he is. And I remember one of the girls that was with us sprained her ankle, and he literally put her on his back and carried her down the mountain. And that right there, it shifted the way all of us felt about law enforcement that day. And with that, yeah, Sheriff Richard Mack. Thank you.
So Zach forgot to tell you he was a hippie. And they were with the Earth Firsters, and this is something I never anticipated as sheriff. I never thought that we would be the location for the #1 environmental concern in the world. And they had what they called the Red River Rendezvous there, which marks their biggest environmental concern anywhere in the world. So anyway, back to Zach Carter. About 35 years after that event, he was working for a conservative periodical, and he reminded me that he was there. I didn't know him. I didn't remember him. But it was the seminal moment for me being sheriff, because there were other police agencies that wanted to do these people harm and treat them rough. Do you know what they called me? They said I was mama coddling these protesters. Maybe I was, because I was protecting their right to be there. Did I want them there? I didn't want them there. They're not even from my county. Most of them weren't even from Arizona. But I respected their right to be there, and I met with them frequently to go over their agenda. And I wanted to open up communications with them. And finally, when it got the most tense, do you know what I did? I challenged them to a basketball game. The police against the hippies. And I have to tell you, they were lousy. We killed them. But my old football coach from Eastern Arizona College was the athletic director, and he opened up the gym for us and opened up the school. And my little scheme was to make sure that they all got a shower, because they were up on the mountain, and when we had our meetings, they were kind of like reeking. So it all turned out very positive. And I wanted to bring that up because the media has so mischaracterized who I am and what I stand for. And again, this is a peaceful and effective process. It's peaceful. And you're going to see example after example of sheriffs who have stood for their constituents and stood for liberty and stood for the Constitution, and it all.
7 people are arrested as work starts on the controversial Mount Graham telescope.
There. That's a video of me when I was working this, and there I am right there with the hat on and the coat. That's me. I was really young then. This is like 35, well, it's 1993, so almost 35 years ago. And Like I said, I didn't know these protesters. I didn't want them in my community. If they broke the law, they were arrested, and we made a few arrests here and there. One time there was about 30 of them blocking the road, and we cleared them from the road, and I was going to arrest each one of them for violating a couple of laws. And instead, I sat down with them and said, if you promise to leave the mountain, don't come back in a year, then I'm not going to arrest you. So I literally took their handcuffs off of them and watched them pack up and leave. And so I was there to be the sheriff of Graham County, and if we'd have put 25, 30 people in our jail, we wouldn't have had room for them. And it would have cost our county thousands and thousands of dollars. And my ultimate goal was to protect the county's interest and at the same time protect their rights to be there. They have a right to protest, and so do we. So folks, I want to put up a slide. That's the name of our conference. Have you seen the name of the conference? The name of the conference is very unusual. Resist the temptation. What does that mean? Resist the temptation. I want the media to resist the temptation. I want all of us to resist the temptation. I want the states, I want the sheriffs, I want everybody in our country to resist the temptation. Those three words come from my Supreme Court victory. Folks, the most amazing and miraculous Supreme Court decision, perhaps in the history of our country, written by Justice Antonin Scalia, who started his entire introduction with, there really isn't a lot in the Constitution regarding what the CLEOs, they call us the CLEOs, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer, the United States Supreme Court, and the Brady Bill itself that we wanted to stop, called the sheriffs the CLEO, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer. Folks, I didn't make that up. I didn't create that, but the sheriff is, and he's the only elected law enforcement officer anywhere in the United States. Therein lies his power, because the people are the ultimate power in our country and in our government. So, resist the temptation comes from this. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. Folks, the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. What would that have done if we obeyed that Supreme Court principle right there? What would that have done to all the COVID-19 mandates, CDC mandates, anybody else? They're not laws, and they have no right ever or authority to violate the Constitution in order to take care of us. And that but the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government precisely so that we may resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day. The crisis of the day that they use. And even Obama's administration used that, said never let a good crisis go to waste, which means more control and more taking care of the people. Government's job is to make sure that we are free to take care of ourselves. And that's what this is about. Folks, we do not advocate violence. We never have advocated violence. We detest and deplore racism because God-given liberty is for all God's children. And we don't care what nation you're from. We don't care what your nationality is. We don't care what color you are. We don't care what religion you are or that you're no religion at all. Freedom and God-given rights are for you. Civil rights. Whatever happened to civil rights movement? Our government doesn't protect or respect civil rights. We want to take us back there. We want to turn back and make America the constitutional republic she was meant to be. Folks, whoever says that democracy is a synonym of liberty is either extremely ignorant or a liar. Democracy was never meant to be the American form of government. You'll not find that word in any of our foundational documents. We are a republic surrounded by the limitations of a constitution, and thus we are a constitutional republic where we decide who our representatives are. And now that we are trying to implement safeguards for our right to vote, we get pushback like extremist and fanatic pushbacks when we simply want to verify how our votes are tabulated. That's it. And we have a right to do that. And we have a right to be suspicious about computers. And we have a right to tell our public officials we want it done this way. Folks, thank you so much for being here. We have a long day ahead, and I promise you, you're going to get a lot out of this. Again, thank you for being here, and we want you to know we respect the media, even though some of them haven't respected us. They are invited to be here. Treat them with respect and let them do their jobs. If they lie about us, that is not our problem. That's theirs. But we will show them the truth, and what they do with it, we hope it touches their hearts, but what they do with it is their problem. We respect freedom of the press. We respect freedom to peaceably assemble. We respect freedom of religion, and we're going to talk about that today. And we'll have a pastor and a sheriff talking a little bit later about how they disobeyed the COVID-19 mandates. God bless them for that. So, Alex, I'll turn it back over to you. Where's Alex? Oh.